What's up, one and all? This is Dominic D'Angelo of OneTrueSportTV.com and FourHorsemenNetwork.com and SEScoops.com. Hey, that's the dirt sheet I write for. But I'm here today with Straight Talk with the boss, Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. And whoa, we got a new logo over there. That way. Boom. Look at that. So, guys,
Which one?
which one? Yeah, look at here. We'll pop up a big version. This is what it looks like now.
There it is.
Boom. Straight Talk with the Boss. You can get new merchandise too of that logo on OneTrueSport.com. But I'm here. Enough early shilling here. I am here with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. Guys, good to see you.
Good to see you, Dom. How you been?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Weather is still relatively nice over here in Pittsburgh. Can't complain. But I'm going to Vegas, baby. Gonna gamble all our money away made off this podcast.
Nice.
Great. Ours is already gambled away, so good luck.
Thanks. Yeah. But guys, we're live, and we want your questions. So if you're in the chat, like Eddie is here, like Liam, our One True Sport, one of the originals there. We got CB in the house as well. So get your questions ready. Pop them in there, and we'll get to it around them too. Hey, super chats get you to the front of the line, and we'll get that to your questions right away too, if the subject warrants it. So, but guys, get your questions in. And yes, but thankfully for our producer, Robert, he mentioned the sad news that happened last week. At the end of last week, we got news that Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster, one of the master bookers in pro wrestling and very transcendent in how stories were told in pro wrestling moving forward, was Kevin Sullivan. And Magnum, you knew Kevin quite well.
Kevin played just an instrumental part in my early career. After I'd been in the business about a year, and a befriended Mike Graham, he brought me into Florida Championship Wrestling, and in comes this cat named Kevin Sullivan that I've never met before. When he came in, he was a baby face, and he was a guy that I worked out in the gym with, and Brad Armstrong and I trained together with him and at the Gold's Gym there in Tampa, and amazing guy. And he was full of ideas from the very first time I met him. And had I followed his lead, my whole career could have just either not happened at all or been completely different, because he shortly after coming in made the switch turn heel and started the whole Kevin Sullivan legacy of Reign of Terror, as he did with his legion of just crazy people from Mark Lewin to Luna Vachon to Jake the Snake Roberts. And
we lost Magnum. And we lost. Yep, there, he's back. Hold on, we lost him. There you go.
We're back
for a second.
That was Kevin Sullivan beeping you there.
Kevin's fault. He's Sullivan.
What did he want you to do? What did he perceive you to look like?
He wanted to turn me heel on Dusty we just started, and Dusty and I had just become friends, and he wanted me to shave my whole head right down the center and just leave one side, shave my eyebrow, shave half my mustache off, and be Wink. He wanted to call me Wink.
Wink.
I have just everything shaved on one side and made me this heel. Thankfully, Dusty swooped in and had a little bit different idea and approach, and put me with Scott McGee, and we went on to be the global tag team champions, and pushed me as a middle of the card babyface champion for the company, and put me on another path. But Kevin was dreaming that up, and he did. He got I can't remember his last name. His last name was Davis. He got somebody to do that down the road, shave their head and do the deal. But I was around Kevin for about a year and a half when I was in Florida, and again, I worked with him as a tag partner when he was a babyface, against him when he turned heel, and it was just marveled with his imagination. And then years later, after I'd had my accident, I'm out of my in-ring portion of my career, and I was working in a corporate capacity at TBS for WCW. He came in, and he and Nancy were married and together then, and we used to sit with Dusty and Kevin and Nancy for hours, just brainstorming these just amazing things that just came out of this mind of his. and he was just so creative, and such a talented in-ring performer himself. But he had that ability to see the potential in others, just like Dusty did. He could take people and meld them together and make a faction out of them, bring personalities of people that might look like big monsters but didn't, come across that way maybe on an interview or whatnot. And he just was a special guy. And the thing that I remember, watching him from afar most before I got back, kind of in with him, was watching the feud that he had with Chris Benoit in WCW, and him and Nancy had split, and they had been split for a little bit, but the public didn't know that, and of course she had gone on to fall for Chris Benoit, but they made a storyline out of it and beat the ever loving crap out of each other, in what the world thought was a shoot, really looked like a shoot, the stiffest work you ever seen. Kind of, right along par with what I did on a regular basis. But Kevin was intense. He was believable, and you never walked out, scratching your head thinking that he had pulled a punch or taken a fall, because he was just that solid, incredible of a worker. Tremendous talent. Will never be another one just like him. A guy that's 5'9" and could fight giants or fight people his own size. It didn't matter. He was like a Tasmanian devil, pit bull, all jacked up, all combined in one thing.
Man, yeah. What a legacy, and but just the influence he's had on so many talents. Greg, you kind of knew Kevin more indirectly through working with Mike Graham and stuff in Florida. And
yes, I did. Mike used to talk about him all the time. I met Kevin a couple times, but never had the opportunity to work with him or be around him much. But I'd heard all the the talk of how great of a mind he had, and his mindset and the characters he produced probably wouldn't have fit that well in with Vern.
Probably not, right?
Some of them would. We had the Mad Dog, who was way out there, and we had a few others. But bringing them in those factions that they had, I don't know. I'm sure it would have worked, because it worked everywhere else, but it was just trying to sell that image to Vern.
That's the thing. Well, you got to think about it. I mean, you're in the 80s at this point in championship wrestling in Florida, nonetheless. So it's South, and he's doing like this. And at the thick of it, at that time, there was that satanic panic going on, like a cult leading, all that stuff, like really swarming, getting people really concerned about stuff. And then Kevin Sullivan here, he didn't even have to mention Satan or the devil in certain ways. He alluded to it all. And then him going to like the grocery store dressed in like his cult leader outfit and doing all this stuff. It was such a good territory to cause a lot of that polarization down there and what he was able to do. So it's like, and then you look at what came from all that. Like, would we have gotten somebody like an Undertaker maybe down the line if it wasn't for Kevin Sullivan, or like even more current now, the Wyatt Six, something like that? It's his fingerprints are always going to be over pro wrestling, I think, at this juncture.
It is, yeah.
Right?
And Vern's philosophy was, you had to be able to wrestle.
Yeah.
And he always had a character or two in there, but he used to say they run things a little different in the South than we run up here. And he said, we build up to a match for a blow off, but we don't do it consistently. And down there in Florida and Tennessee, they got away with some things that the way the fans are educated in the AWA may not have got over as well.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was the same kind of the philosophy when Vern made trades with Vince Sr. He'd send him, Jesse Ventura or Adrian Adonis or Superstar Billy Graham when they were ready to go up there, whoever. But the guys those were the characters, but Adrian was a performer in the ring. And then when they would send guys to us, like Pedro Morales and some of the other ones that came, they never made it past the second or third match on the card.
Well, Greg, you were saying, and I've heard this before too, in the fact like I grew up, I'm Northeast, but way before my time is all this stuff was, it was a more punching, kicking kind of
That was in style in New
style
York.
in
That's
WAF.
what Bruno was so good. He was good at that.
Yeah,
Pedro was too. But then when they came and they had that style in the AWA, people didn't buy it.
yeah,
They were used to a contest.
yeah.
And we had to build that contest through holds and counter holds and, sneaking the little things in there, the pulling the hair in the tights and all that. I told you, with Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, we had a riot in Denver in 8 minutes, and there was never a punch or kick thrown in the match. Hair pulling and trunks pulling. That was it.
That's all you needed.
That's all we needed. But, because the story was built in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And not that they didn't. I mean, Kevin built that thing and he built that group. And what they did in the ring is what they projected. And it worked there. And I'm sure it would have worked in the AWA, but it might have been a little bit harder to sell.
Yeah. At least to kind of get sunk into and boom, like hitting all. I could only imagine going to the territories around with that kind of game and stuff like that. The heat you would get down in Florida is something. It had to have been remarkable, Magnum.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and it would be like having a whole herd of Bruiser Brodies. I mean, they had Angela Mosca in there with them, and Jake Roberts, and Jake, 5-star worker, can do anything. But it's interesting, it's interesting the contrast that, to Greg's point, of what the fans were educated to seeing, because the athletic back and forth, scientific, telling stories in that kind of genre piece, it has always been like at the center of the heartbeat of wrestling, period. But like where I found and I mean, that's what I cut my teeth on, and Scott McGee and Brad Armstrong and myself worked so many blooming 45-minute Broadways and 60-minute Broadways with the Kangaroos, Royal Kangaroos down in Florida with those tag belts and stuff, to learn all that timing and working the holes and milking and everything. But I never made myself big money and broke out until I got out of being labeled the scientific wrestler. Till they thought, you know what, he's going to lose it and he's going to knock your teeth down your throat and pull it out and show it to you. So when I got to that point, it changed the whole persona. And, it's like it takes a marriage of both, because you can't have that from the bottom of the card to the opening card.
No.
You're in the main event in places like the South and places that have been accustomed to that. If you went, if you go in there and just don't have the intensity of a battle, and even Flair, who's the consummate 60-minute man, to call him, he knew how to turn it into a fight and into a battle, even through that 60-minute of back and forth and up and down. He broke it down into like 4 15-minute matches and told a different story in each segment till you got down in the conclusion. So it was very, it was a very unique thing, and it's really, in studying the history, it's interesting to watch, because of course today, we still got the punching and kicking in that group, but now we don't even have any of the, working the hold and up and down and back and forth. It's either that or you're a spot monkey. There's really, you're not a whole lot in between,
No.
But anyway, yeah, Kevin.
What were you weighing, at your prime as a baby face?
The biggest I ever was 270, and I stayed about 240 most of the time.
What was that your best weight, you think, 240?
Yeah, 240. My cardio was really good. And when I got up to 270 in San Antonio, working out with Ray Hercules Hernandez, taking a little too many performance enhancing Chalk's vitamins, and thinking I wanted to be a road warrior at the time, I think. But yeah, my frame, I'm about 6'2", and that was more that 240-ish weight. I could go with the big guys. I could still hang with, Tully was about 219, 220, and I could keep up with him and his pace. And I could keep up with the pace. But if I got smaller and just got to try to get too lean, then I'd get hurt. If I was like a high flyerish, guy like my partner up there, yeah, I would have not had as much beef on me to absorb some of the punishment I put my body through.
See, I got up to about 215, and slowed me down.
Wow.
At 211 and down, nobody could stay with me. But once I hit that 215, I didn't have the same quickness, the same anything, and it just it didn't feel right for me.
That's funny.
At the lighter weight, I could still give the people a match with credibility. There's the small guy in there again.
Even
but
just a 4-pound.
You make it up with fire and knowing how to wrestle and outthinking the guys.
Even just a 4-pound difference, you can feel the effects, huh?
Just 4 pounds.
Wow.
That much. Yeah, it was amazing to me, and I think, God, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the endurance. I wasn't quick. Got me back down to that 211, man. I could go all night long.
How about that? Jeez.
Not only in the ring.
I knew he was going there.
That's for a different podcast.
Oh, I don't know what you guys are thinking about.
That's Intimate Talk with Greg Gagne. That's our other show we do. I did want to ask. So, and Magnum, you touched upon a little bit. Kevin was stocky, but he was shorter. He was 5'9", and like in that day, that's a really remarkable difference because you look at everybody he went up against. Like he did, and you said it too. He feuded with names like from all across the board when it came to heights.
All the way up to Hogan.
Yeah, Hogan, all the way up to Hogan. What do you? Was it just like his charisma, his ability to get himself over in certain ways that pushed him past that what many would think would be a limitation, but he kind of, bulked himself up and got him to that level of
and if you think back and Greg knows, I mean, there was a lot of guys that were shorter back in that time, had a lot of muscle packed on. Ivan Putski.
Oh, true.
Mm-hmm. Great. Mad Dog wasn't that tall.
No.
But I laugh now. I just thought about this because a couple of weekends ago I was with Barry Windham at a show, and we were talking about Kevin. And Kevin used to do this deal where he'd slam you, and he'd reach back, rear back, and run and jump up in the air and come down on you with both feet, stomp you, and then go off. And Barry said, and he always thought he could work that so good. And he said he did it to me so many times I could feel his feet against my spine when he jumped on me, because it felt like he weighed about 600 pounds when he landed. I mean, if you weren't tightened up, oh God. I mean, it was just absolutely, brutal. But again, that intensity, everybody that came out of that Eddie Graham kind of philosophy of work, and of course, him and Mike Graham were babyface tag team partners when they first started. And another little funny story about Kevin. I asked Kevin years later. I said, "Man, what got you down that road?" And he was telling me he's obviously from Boston. His accent was very heavy, and you could tell. And he was he was an acolyte in church when he was growing up. So he was raised up in the church atmosphere, and he heard, all these, biblical revelation type stories, and his mind was just impermeated with all this stuff. So when he was coming up trying to craft up the most devious character he drug it all in. He just said, "Man, I'm gonna blow their daggone mind."
They're doing carrying cross, which is awesome. Like and we talk about how much influence he's had on so many different people from so many different generations. Like Kevin Nash sings his praises up and down. What he did for the NWO, how he literally held Hogan basically hostage for him to turn heel at Bash at the Beach. Such a historical moment in wrestling. And then, working with modern talent today from a carrying cross and what he's done. So many people on social media came out and praised Sullivan for his smarts, what he meant to them and what he meant to the business in so many ways. And it's remarkable. For him to make that jump from, this evil minded devil, quote unquote, to doing all this other stuff when it comes to like making the business flourish in many ways. It's awesome to see, and he's such a nice guy. When I only interacted with him very little, like, and it was mostly over Zoom or doing something like this. So but yeah, what a great mind, what a legend in the business, and understated too.
Well, Mark Lewin got a lot from him.
Yeah,
There's the move.
There's the move.
There it is.
Nice job, Robert. Heck yeah.
Maybe he saw the Mad Dog do that one. He did that all the time too, and he scratched the shit out of you. But Mark Lewin, I remember, I forget who was in the territory at that time, the AWA, and they were trying to convince Vern to bring in Mark Lewin. And he said, we're not going to deal with that kind of stuff here.
So he was literally like, oh, I know what's going on down there.
Yeah, he said, oh, no, that's not what we project here.
That's great. But I will say, what a great enemy he would have made for Vern in the ring. I think they would have.
I think so. But, I mean, Vern and Mad Dog, I mean, they sold out everywhere. That was a big deal. Mad Dog was on the Canadian Olympic team when Vern was on the U.S. Olympic team.
Yeah.
So they met each other long, long ago. And then when Mad Dog got into professional wrestling, he actually was failing. He had this thick head of hair, and he had got his teeth knocked out. He wasn't going anywhere. And one night, he just exploded.
Wow.
He lost the hair, had lost the teeth. He didn't have any money to fix the teeth, and he just exploded in the ring. And I knocked out 2 wrestlers, knocked out a couple cops, knocked out a couple people in the front row. They wrote about it in Montreal, and from that time on, he became the Mad Dog, and he made money wherever he went. But that's the way he wrestled. And you didn't have a clue when you got in the ring with him what was going to happen. Not a clue. Nope. He hit you so hard. It was like a cement block hitting you. You'd feel it down in your feet. And Vern used to say to me, hit him twice as hard as he hits you. And I said, and then what? Good luck. That's what he'd say. Send you in the ring with him. That was my first experience. And he hit me, and oh my God. And I hit him back. And about the third one, I really caught him with a good one and kind of wobbled him. And I took him down by the leg, and he says, oh, you think you learned something? And then he scratched my back. Oh, took everything off.
Yikes.
You think you're pretty tough, huh?
Well, yeah, but I tell you what, and you mentioned both you guys said it with Sullivan and like a Mad Dog. The height.
He was. I mean, he was the Mad Dog of the Florida territory, and the other territories he went there without Mad Dog being there. But
how about that?
Similarities. I mean, Mad Dog was only about 5'10".
That's it. Wow.
And he went about 235, 240. Mm-hmm. The son of a gun could move in the ring, but boy, I tell you, when you got in the ring with him, you knew you were in for a battle.
But to both what you're saying, they both added legitimacy to what they were doing.
Yes.
From his look
without
and
that,
and then Mad Dog as well. Geez, rough customers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, let's take a couple of the super chat questions here when it comes to Kevin Sullivan, Instagram wrestling story, and has 2. This one's for Greg here. Would Kevin Sullivan had made a good AWA booker, Greg? You mentioned how Vern was.
We kind of talked about that earlier. I don't think so. He'd have been. It depends. If he tried to put in his philosophy into it, it probably wouldn't have worked.
Interesting. Yeah.
If he would have stayed with the personalities that we had there and worked with them and put them in the right situations, yes, then he'd be good. And he probably could have done that, but he had that background of what he had come from and what he was doing, and that wasn't the philosophy of what we had in the AWA. So it could have, but it had been a little more controlled.
Well, the thing is too is with Kevin is when he got into the WCW booking aspect of things, he had that ability to kind of adapt, and kind of
but you weren't sure, but then,
yeah, right.
Before he got there, that's what Vern was very unsure of. It was like bringing Mark Lewin in. No way.
Nope.
But he'd bring some of these other characters in. So I don't know what it was.
Yeah. So him showing that he had that and knowing where he wasn't the main guy or had the final say and stuff, but he knew how to handle himself and get some stuff over creatively.
Well, TA, didn't he book with Dusty?
Like, oh yeah, they worked together, on
Yeah,
all kind of creative things. I mean, Dusty was the booker in Florida, but Kevin was, right in his ear, every
yeah.
day.
Ideas
I
and
mean, we had, Gordon Soley was the announcer,
yeah.
and I remember when he turned heel, he came up with this name Nevic Novelist, which was his name backwards, and he was, I mean, and that's how the whole crazy thing started. Who's Nevic Novelist? What's that? You can hear Gordon Soley now, with that daggone gin voice of his. Yeah. And I mean, he was just always thinking, and he would get you thinking. Like I said, he almost had like thinking. I was really kind of getting with it, right down to that. Shave half your mustache off and your eyebrow. I could have probably cut all my hair off.
Up till then, he had you.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing pretty good until he got down to the wink.
Old Wink Magnet, old Wink TA.
Yeah.
Uh, well,
Uh,
Instagram, a wrestling historian follows up, and he wants to see if you have a favorite memory of Kevin Sullivan in championship wrestling in Florida.
some of my favorites were when we went to the Bahamas, because we would always go and work 2 days, spend the night, fly over there on a little charter plane, and so we'd have pool time or beach time, and Kevin would sit around and drink Heineken all day long, and I swear, the more he drank, it was like it bloated him. He would be like something in a cartoon. It seemed like he got bigger and bigger the more he drank, and he's not going to get any taller, but he just got like he was hulking up, and it was just fun. I mean, he really had a great sense of humor, and I really never, for as intense as he was, I really don't I don't remember him like being, really mad at anybody. He was just, mischievous and a fun guy to be around, and he always really had something to add. That you always have people around in the business that are really good at coming up with ideas for themselves. But Kevin wasn't like that. He was always sharing it, around, and it was kind of a global benefit you got from that creative process. So that's, one of the things about him I always remember, very refreshing and giving, and not a selfish bone in his body, as far as I'm concerned.
That's what makes a good booker.
Right?
He can work with everybody in the territory. Some bookers came in and they had their idea and they had their guys that they had to push in there, and that's when it didn't work. But if Kevin had that kind of a mind on him, I wasn't around him that much. What TA says, then he would have worked okay with the AWA.
Yeah, I like his ability. Like I just said too, his ability to adapt just seemed like it was there, and he could read a room, understand his position, and kind of do what he wants from a good creative perspective, and add that input. And like I just think it's such a missed opportunity with, like, you think about like what a promotion like the AEW needs or something like that, where it'd be like you get a mind like that behind there and working with talent one-on-one and kind of cultivating a good identity for that. Like, he would have been just amazing, I think, with helping even a new promotion like get going and stuff like that.
I don't know on that one.
Yeah.
What do you think, TA? With
AEW? Oh yeah, hands down. That would have been clay in his hands.
Right?
He would have surmised the strengths and the weaknesses really quickly. He understood programming and laying things out to be episodic, and what you need to make people, and how you program your whole program so it's all complementary to what you want to sell. You don't do things that leave people, just scratching their head where they can't really follow, who's on first, and and who are you trying to really make what, and just confuse the soup out of them to where it's just like watching 15 short stories that aren't any connected. It's got to have some continuity, and he understood that.
Yeah, 100% he did. Yeah. What else was I going to ask about him too?
Well, Triple H has done a great job with the WWE.
Yes, he has.
Him and his staff, they've done an excellent job. I mean, it's different from when TA and I wrestled, even though we could have fit into that.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got so much talent to work with there, and to keep everything going and everybody happy, which they're doing. It's phenomenal. And, and they're selling out everywhere they go, and going to Europe and all over the place and selling everything out. And I think it's fantastic for wrestling. I just wish we'd had a chance to be there with them.
Right. Well, so, and what you're saying too with Triple H and how he's doing he was one of the first people when Kevin passed, he was one of the first people to tweet out about it and like make sure he honored Kevin, even though Kevin wasn't, maybe he only had like a cup of coffee in WWF way back at the time as like, enhancement talent, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like he understood the influence that Sullivan has made on the wrestling business and it was one of the quickest announcements I've seen WWE make when it came to somebody passing. So that was nice to see too. So, Jez, so we kind of just talked about this. Much love for Sullivan. He was not only a fantastic wrestler, but his impact behind the scenes cannot be underestimated. Was his satanic gimmick something that promoters were slightly afraid of due to its controversy? Well, Greg kind of referenced to that about how, he might not have been something Vern would have been taken into immediately.
I mean, he would have massaged it down.
Yeah.
A little bit. He would let him get out as far out as he could get in some places. I guess that would have been a better way of putting it.
Yeah, man, I love the Varsity Club stuff though. Him like just like manipulating Rick Steiner and Mike Rotunda and these like athletic guys, but they're part of this cult thing. It's just so cool and weird.
Yeah, exactly. Cool and weird.
Cool and weird. That's what I like. Look at that.
There's cool and weird right there.
There it is right there.
That'd be more in the weird.
Yep. Oh, wow. This is an interesting one. This is a little off topic, but we kind of talked off air a little bit in a way. David Glenn, Jim Brunzel, he's referring to, birthday boy recently, never had the success with Brian Blair as him and you. I also remember Jesse and Adonis versus the High Flyers classic matches. Yeah, like you and Jim were the High Flyers, and obviously then Jim buzzed on over to WWE to be a part of the Flying Bees.
Well, I think Jim feels like him and Brian work together better, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that. So yeah, let's take some more questions here. There was one story too I wanted to bring up about Sullivan. Was he brought it up when he was a special guest on Kevin Nash's podcast. He said the one story that he had and one of the best compliments he ever received was from Jim Barnett. He said that so Kevin had to go into a room, and maybe this was happened on multiple occasions, with two wrestlers, and basically had to break the news like, hey, you're going to lose to this guy. Like, but instead of saying like, you're going to lose to the guy or anything like that, he's like, I need you to do him a favor. And so he took the heat off of him to kind of be like, I'm helping this guy out. So yeah, I'll do the favors for him. And I'm sure he'll really appreciate it for you. And Jim Barnett told him like, that's the best way to like kind of taper everything off to make people feel at ease when it comes to doing something like that. So I thought that was a pretty interesting anecdote, Kevin, that he brought up. So,
sorry, I thought I shut my phone off.
You're Hollywood, Greg. It's okay. You can take calls whenever you need.
It was Jim Barnett calling.
Was he? My boy.
My boy.
You're such a high.
What is Kevin doing? Oh my God.
Where's the Magnum PA inflatable dolls at with the chest hair?
Oh, Magnum, maybe he can shut them
down. Okay, let's take some more questions. What do we got here? Magnum, are you glad, hands of stone, Ronnie Garvin didn't put you in a coma with the single punch?
That isn't even remotely a possibility.
Oh.
No.
I didn't think so. I was reading it. I go, you got to be kidding me.
He'd be glad I didn't suplex him on his head.
Hey,
I love Ronnie, and I was, I was part of the little think tank that when they decided to make him the world champion. Mm-hmm. And because he was so over incredible, and they were looking, they were just searching. I mean, again, this was, 6-8 months after my accident, and they'd never really pivoted to figure out what they were going to do. And, gave him a shot. Didn't work out like anybody planned. But Ronnie was as believable of a character as you ever want to be in the ring with. And, they didn't call him the Hands of Stone because he was a ballet dancer. So he was a rough, tough, rugged guy. Yeah, I was glad we shared the same side of the ring.
Yeah.
In fact, Garvin won this for me.
Ooh, look at that.
Clash of the Champions in Chicago.
Did he? How
Caught
about
me,
that?
caught me with that fist.
Wow. No.
Stiffer than a board.
Greg felt the effects of that.
I did.
Wow.
Yep.
Hands of stone. Hands of stone, Ryan Garvin. Well, how about that? Eddie Prather, question for Magnum and Greg. Can you name 2 people currently in wrestling that you would sign if you were to start a wrestling promotion? My 2 picks would be Braun Breaker and Rhea Ripley. Greg, let's start with you on this. What 2 names would you sign? Top 2 you had to pick.
Probably the 2 hottest girls they have on their roster.
Yeah? So you'd set up a women's division then.
I'd have to set up the women. Who would I take?
Yep.
I'd have to take Drew McIntyre.
Oh, that's a great one.
And Roman Reigns.
Oh, good babyface, great heel. Oh, you're cooking.
How about you, Magnum? Who would you take?
Who would you take, Magnum?
I'd take Kevin Owens.
Wow.
And Randy Orton.
Wow. Those are great ones, too.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And hey, they're positioning Kevin Owens.
That's all we need is those 4. We can start our own territory.
Man, you really could, too. Their ability how to work, their knowledge of playing, all of them can play a babyface or a heel. And all of them know how to kind of get over with the crowd, whether that is as a babyface or a heel. So
that Orton is as hot as anybody, I think, right now.
Man, I tell you what, did you guys catch any of their promo, him and Gunther's promo on this past Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I was so impressed. I loved that. Like Orton is so great in his role as kind of like as a babyface, kind of not giving a shit. Like he's like there, but he's like, yeah, my life's pretty good right now, but
yeah.
I want to, I got a smoking a hot wife at home. I have 14 title reigns. He's like, it'll be nice to beat you, but my life's pretty good still. And then Gunther, man, what a heel promo he comes about because he's like, you're one of the greatest, but you could be the greatest. You could have been the greatest. And like needling him that way. And then calling him a screw up. And then noting that, hey, your grandfather was a screw up. Your dad was a screw up and you're a screw up too. And it's just like such in this span of time where they're just positioning these 2 guys that weren't necessarily booked in the future to have a match because that was already planned at King and Queen of the Ring. But then that mishap set this whole thing up. Here they're heating everything up. So well done. And it's one of my favorite feuds going right now. So I've been really impressed with both of those guys. So.
God, I found a poster there. I was going through some stuff.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you saw it on Instagram.
Yes.
It was autographed. Vern and Lou Thez, Cowboy Bob Orton and his dad, Killer Kowalski and Nick Bockwinkel.
Mike, that's a heavy duty.
I got about 4 of those. I think I'm going to put them online and have a bid off on them.
Get them up on eBay.
Yeah,
I'll help you with that. You can send them to my house.
That way we can make more dolls, more action figures.
More action figures. Send those posters to my house. I'll make sure they get sold.
All right. Oh yeah.
You can trust me. Well, Ron, what else?
You're calling my girlfriend all the time. What's that all about? You and her. Well, let me say hello to Laura for a minute.
Yeah.
And then they talk for an hour.
And we do. Hey, Laura's a great gal. I love her.
Yeah.
CB says, Magnum, what do you think about Excalibur comparing Adam Page to yourself on commentary? I think that is BS, and he will never have the talent you have in promos. Are the shits, and his matches are crap. Wow. Magnum, what do you think of that? Yeah, because you got referenced last night. Taz brought you up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm. He brought you up during that match. He was like, this is like a TA.
Well,
there it is.
and honestly, I like this version of him the best of what he's doing right now. I think it's the best evolution of him since I've seen him work. So, I don't really take any insult to that at all, simply because if somebody was in his ear and continuing to tweak what he's doing and continue capitalizing on the intensity that he's showing and doing things, there is a whole lot of possibility in him. I hands down, saw it when I that picture they took when I was there in person with him, but he's got huge potential. Again, somebody that just took him off and made him their 100% focused and just tweaks. I'm not talking about redoing this whole thing because he's really moved the bar up. And if he was in the right program with the right guy, I believe he could bring that credibility and that intensity that it wouldn't be an unfair comparison.
I agree. I think uh, making those comparisons is great. I always think to do because it not only tips the cap to you, but it helps get that talent over in a bigger way. Because hey, this guy is reminiscent of this certain talent that from yesteryear that had an impact on the business. So you're only elevating star power by comparing them to somebody like a Magnum DA or anything like that. And obviously the obvious comparisons with the mustache, facial hair, and all that stuff. But man, it's just like, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential in Hangman Page that I love his attitude, the fire that he brings to the ring is really, really good. And so, obviously he's got a great look, Magnum, and stuff like that. So it's just, there's a lot you can do with Hangman coming and moving forward, I think too. So.
If they're smart, they'd bring TA in to second him a couple times.
I mean, I would like to see him about 10, 15 pounds bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And, really? and maybe a few tweaks to his look, just a few, and nothing drastic, not like trying to take away his personality, but there's things that can make him even a little bit more of a credible badass, just in my opinion. And I think all the skill sets are right there.
Right.
Again, I mean, I had people, along the way. I had the Dusty Rhodes and the Bill Watts and the superstar Bill Dundees and people that were in my ear for hours talking to me about, what nuances, make you that, back in that day, the badass, hero, not the just fight from the bottom up, which is a great role as well. And you always got to be able to fight from the bottom up, but there's got to be this element of badassery about you that like when you flip a switch. I remember Cornette said one time that I just got this big push when I first came into Mid-South, and when I get the hot tag or come up and show the fire, they said they could like see goosebumps on my skin, and they were like, Bobby and Dennis would be like terrified that I had really flipped. I was gonna, like just eat them both for it like a sandwich, but that ability to turn the fire on and the intensity when it's time, you get one shot at that during a match, but to be able to flip that switch and create that intensity, that people can feel, all the way to the top of the building is big money ball player stuff that sells tickets, and people believe that if provoked far enough, that's gonna happen, and then it's all gonna some exciting is about to take place. So.
That's it's interesting you should say all that. That's kind of what we were taught too. There's a lot of people who come back too quick. And we had to learn how to make that slow comeback, build the people, and then that big explosion. And there's only a few guys in the industry back then that really knew how to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what helped us get so established, because we were smaller. I was smaller, and it was a believable comeback. You can't come back from being hurt to jump right up, boom, 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 boom. It's building that slow storytelling comeback into that big explosion and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is really an art. And only a few people in the industry really could do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch it today, and there isn't that storytelling slow coming. It's just boom, 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 and all of a sudden they're back up. You know, they take this big thing, boom, 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 boom. It's built for action. The wrestling is today more so than I think than the storylines.
Right. It certainly leaned more towards that aspect. Is the in-ring work more so than the storytelling?
And again, it comes down to TV. I mean, the attention span of the American public is 8 seconds before they click the button. So they don't want you laying down there in a hold. You know, get up and keep that action going.
Yeah.
Because it's a different philosophy. I think it's still there, but it's different than when we wrestled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It had to be those storytellers, you know, those good storytellers in the ring.
But I think what you guys were saying too, when it comes to like being able to show that fire and like that being able that moment where it turns on is so important. I think for somebody to get over. I think somebody like that gets a lot of criticism is somebody like an Orange Cassidy. Like, oh, how's that gimmick going to work? Where he's
that one.
I know that drives you nuts, Greg.
I'm out on that one. Tia, you take that one.
But let me say this though. He is somebody that can turn it on when it's needed to. Like he kind of shows a little bit of that fire and things like that.
He shows the fire, but it's the other stuff, the hands in the pocket.
I know it does. I know that drives you nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think Vern would have been a fan of that either.
No, he didn't come right out of his fucking shoes on that one.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna tell you the deal. I feel about the same way about that as you do. And I've watched it from afar, you know, so many things about that, you know, that whole show that just make me want to, you know, just smack the taste out of somebody's mouth. But to his point, he would have never been in the conversation, the size guy he is, if he hadn't have done something so unique and so controversial, you know, in coming up with the stylization that he created this niche following. He's like 30 pounds lighter than Ricky Morton was when I thought he was a little guy, you know, and made his way in. And I've watched him when he doesn't do that, and he can really work.
Yeah,
the kid can really flip and work.
He really
can. So my thing is, you know, is I applaud somebody's, you know, in innovation and figuring out, because obviously nobody came to him and said, "Hey, I got this idea for you. We're gonna try to make you, you know, Joe Cool and put your hands in your pockets and see how many bumps you can give other people while you don't never take your hands out." But it was actually genius. So he's one of the few that has come through that whole iteration of the land of misfit toys that I really understand the path, the thought, the creativity, and respect the art form. And if you, I mean, and then I can see some other guys there that look like the stereotypical, guy from back in the day, all jacked up and big and whatnot, and they can't, they're not moving the needle at all.
Right.
I mean, it just heartbreaking. I mean, I look at some of these guys, I'm going, man, if I could, jump inside of that skid of yours for a minute and drive it around, I'd show you what to do with it. Because you just, and it's not because they're not that athletic. It's not because they're not gifted, but they just, they're not being maybe given the opportunity.
No, I don't think nobody knows how to teach them that.
Well, yeah, it's not even just that.
I think it's a balance of it all, where it's like a lot of the younger talent doesn't necessarily listen, or they don't ask for advice, and then it's also, I don't think a lot of them pay attention or know the history of the business too when it comes.
Well,
to
I take you talk about missed opportunities, like what Wardlow, what's his name?
Wardlow. My goodness.
So, here's a guy that was so ostentatious looking when they had him in slacks, in a coat, in a jacket, whatever. And the minute they tried to put him in a true, you're in your wrestler uniform now, the whole mystique about him and him being like the enforcer or the this or that or the other like went out the window, because then all of a sudden you're just comparing him to other just big guys.
Other guys, yeah.
And they, they had a guy that could have been, the big Bubba Rogers of 2022, and instead, nobody had enough vision to see, if they put him out there in a wife beater and trousers and a pair of suspenders, and he had a hat or something, came out, threw the hat on, got there and kicked a mud hole in somebody, that he could have had a whole cult following, and instead that ball got fumbled in so many buckets I've lost count. And talented, didn't deserve that in the least.
Yeah,
that's again having the right people handling the talent, teaching them, and coaching them along. They don't have that. At least the WWE, they have people there that are helping people and teaching them what to do and how to say it, when to do it.
Right.
And when I watch AEW, I mean, I can't even watch it. I get so frustrated.
Now, I'm on vacation. I haven't watched in a minute. I'll be honest. I can't.
I haven't watched.
I got too much going on trying to keep Greg straight in Powertown. I can't keep him.
He's already a handful, that Greg. I tell you what.
I'm sorry.
But it is so disappointing.
You want the straight talk that this is all about. That's what we're giving you.
That's it. You know what?
Then you don't like it.
With somebody like Wardlow, I get so frustrated because, what they had with him and that grassroots kind of like organic connection he had with the crowd, because he had that kind of Goldberg like identity, but also was just like this, to what you were saying, Magnum, this like enforcer kind of role where he's like the silent type. He's getting like, mentally or verbally demeaned by MJF. So it's a good thing like that. And then they had it and they could have really cultivated it. And then they just let it go. And then they did it again. And they paired up with Arn Anderson, which I thought was great.
And it's very much like that big explosive turn the switch on comeback I'm talking about. You don't get that many opportunities to recreate yourself when there's a misstep. It can be done. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of people working with you to get it over. But it's just somebody sitting back looking at it through a different set of goggles and saying, "Hey, what about this?" And I've been involved in it. I mean, as I've said, I mean, Ernie Ladd was getting ready to let me go back to Florida before, Bill Dundee and Bill Watts came in and said, "Oh no, you're not going anywhere. We got big plans for you. We got, this is going to be fine, kid." I mean, I had somebody trying to make me, in a suit and tie and a punk rock outfit one week. I mean, they didn't have a clue, what this character was all about. And, it took them throwing up their hands and letting me get ready to go back and team up with Dusty to turn it all around.
Yeah.
Who gave you the Magnum TA?
Oh,
you don't know that? That guy?
We're going to get to that, Greg.
We're going to get to that. Oh, we were going to talk about him today.
We're going to talk about him. Don't worry, Greg. We're going to get to him.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, next week. I know we're almost out of time here, but Wardlow, he would just benefit greatly if he just went to WWE. They would know what to do with him. He would be put in the right position. And you know what? I mean, like, in regards to look at what they've done with Cody, look at what they've done with Jade Cargill, look at what they've done with even an Ethan Page, who was there for a short amount of time, didn't get a whole lot of TV time in AEW, but here he's the NXT champion right now. And it's just like, you got to look at a guy like Wardlow, and you really want to charge something up, doing him justice. I think WWE would do a wonderful job at doing him justice that AEW has really missed the boat on, unfortunately, with him. So
I'd like to work out with Jade a couple times.
She's great. I interviewed her WrestleMania week or SummerSlam weekend, Greg.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had a good. Yeah,
say hello to her for me, would you?
I will. I'll say hi to her.
Well, I'd like to work out with her a couple times.
I'll send you the interview.
I got some moves I can show her that maybe she hasn't seen before.
The high flyer, or
they're a little slower now at the back, but I can still,
Gotcha.
That's what's wrong with your back.
I'll take off the
nothing to do with wrestling. Nothing. That's now I understand.
Wait a second. Are you not?
The light bulb went off.
Jeez, Greg.
You think you're Don Juan DeMarco, and you still do.
I know I'm not, but I like to think that,
All right,
we're long gone.
We'll take a couple more questions here. Let's see. Here's it. Can I have another question? Greg and Magnum, do you think platforms like YouTube are a blessing for keeping the AWA/NWA flame alive? Thousands of matches that would have only been traded between tape traders and bootleggers back in the day are now available to all, and I love it. That is pretty cool. Do you guys go back and kind of see some of that stuff on YouTube that you haven't seen probably in years? Greg, have you done that?
Well, I watched Vernon Luthez
on
YouTube. In fact, I put something on Instagram and somebody came back, where can I watch a match of Vernon Luthez? I said, go to YouTube. They've got them on there.
They do.
McMahon bought our library. He owns all the AWA stuff. And I think did he buy the NWA stuff too, TA?
He bought different he bought the championship wrestling
everything.
Tapes.
He bought all of it.
But the thing of it is to your point, my 16-year-old son has watched every match of me, watched things that I didn't even know somebody had captured. And I think the social media platforms, the YouTube, all those things have kept your name in people's thoughts and brought you up in the conversations like AEW, guys comparing me to Page, Hangman Page. All that stuff is, keeps people reliving things and comparing things. Mm-hmm. And it was a great era. It was a different era, but to be fair, I would love the thought of being able to do some more outlandish things and know I wouldn't kill myself in the process. Back then, Dusty would dream something up and tell me about it, 2 minutes before I'm going out. Hey, can you catch Tiger Mask when he jumped off the top and give him that belly to belly? Oh, sure. It'd been great to really see if I could catch him before I'm out there in front of everybody in the Superdome. There's elements of these things that, I definitely see, the value of how you could create more excitement. And that's why guys like Randy Orton and Seth Rollins and, that whole group of people, of course, Roman Reigns, are thriving because they do. They're throwbacks to respecting the art of what you have to do, but they're embracing all the new ambiance and things that they're able to portray because of it. That WrestleMania moment that he and Cody had with The Rock, all that, there's no way you could have done all that, calling it on the fly. You just couldn't do it. It's not possible. You could go have a great match, but you couldn't go do all those just absolutely spectacular things that told that story without having everybody on the same sheet of music. And you darn sure couldn't film it and capture all the angles.
No way. Definitely not back then. Yeah, it's to that point. Yeah, creating those moments is so big and key, and it's like it feels big time. And Greg, what you were saying earlier too, what WWE's been doing has just been awesome, and it's cool to just see that it growing and kind of becoming a big global entity in a lot of ways. So it's pretty neat for all of wrestling. I think that benefits. Let's take a couple of those Powertown questions we saw here. Cal Easton had one. Will we see any new Powertown announcements before the end of the year? Yes, you will, Kyle.
100%
on that too. 100%. Yep.
Mm-hmm. We can't say what it is. I don't dare because TA will shoot me.
Lips are zipped.
He's threatened me many times. Don't say a thing.
Kyle also asked, what's the status of production for all the Powertown projects?
So we've got a status up on our website that we will be updating. We've got a lot of, to everybody's ask, a lot of amazing things in the pipeline. We've also got, 4 active lines out there that have been pre-sold that we're working adamantly to, get through production and get in a place to ship from Hong Kong to make that long boat ride over to get in a place where we could do the fulfillment. And, and we're expanding the types of lines that we're going to offer, because it takes, basically, it's like having a baby. From the time you think of it till you can actually have it in your hands to sell to someone, it's about 9 months.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have, a constant, circulation going on with fresh things, and have, a good production line backing you up, and all the challenges that go along with that, and shipping and all those other things, then you're going to have lulls. And what we're doing right now, we went from, a little startup company 2.5 years ago to being something that's going to rival the big boys in 2025.
Yeah, and I tell you what, these Powertown figures. How much more time do they have to order Ultra Series 2 Magnum pre-order? Is the windows?
So when this airs, it will be done.
It'll be over.
So
Okay.
Friday the 16th is
Mm-hmm.
the midnight will be the last opportunity for a pre-order. There'll undoubtedly be online people that will have some stock available, but albeit probably not at the prices that we offered during the pre-sale. But this look and this group of people are iconic, and the belts that go along with them, and the accessories. Wahoo McDaniel's in that headpiece is like an absolute standout. And of course, he and Dory are, a couple, and Jack both. I mean, everybody in this group are special, and they deserve the representation they're getting. And I'm glad they're in the Powertown family now and out there. We're building quite an archive. I think it's like the vault. We make these things, and somewhere down the road, that vault is going to get cracked open again, and maybe we'll change some colors, change a few things around. But these guys these sculpts are too good. They're too special not to, have the opportunity for as many people to enjoy them as possible.
Well, yeah, guys, if you're tuning in live, scan that QR code to go to powertownwrestling.com and get your pre-orders in. You can order the bundle there, or you can order them individually. But get them in before Friday here. Time's a ticking, and those are some great-looking figures. Very exciting stuff. And there'll be more news to come for sure with Powertown. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of good news coming.
A lot of good news for coming down.
Hey, we got busting his butt.
Busting his butt, that's for sure. That's why he's the boss. He's operating.
He's the boss.
He's operating.
I just give it the straight talk. He's the boss.
That's it. You're the straight talk. He's the boss.
I'm too straight.
Well, guys, if you like what you see, consider joining One True Sport. Go to onetruesporttv.com. Maybe you're tuning in right now. Go to the join below. We have plenty of our members in the house right now, from Liam Evans to Eddie Prather to others that we really appreciate giving input and being part of the community that we've kind of created. We want to grow this thing. We got merchandise available. Yes, onetruesport.com will get you to the merchandise aspect of our store. And hey, we got some good merchandise when it comes to Magnum TA. Look at that hat. Classic logo for Magnum TA. Get the black thumb cap available now. We have America's team. We have plenty of the Harley Davidson kind of take on Magnum. We also have this. Let me show this one first.
Sure. Magnum pushed the button to cut me off.
He did. Man, he's the boss. He's the boss.
That's why he's the boss.
He's the boss. So go. You can scan that QR code, go to the Magnum store, and check out Greg. Look at this one too.
Hey, there's one for you.
There's one. We got to show Greg right there.
See it.
There it is. Greg's got it in person. So take a look.
I worked at the Corn Fest in Long Lake the other day. Man, they went crazy over it.
You were the talk of the town.
Well, yeah, that and the corn cobs.
You were it was quite the party.
They were throwing them at me. Where'd you get that shirt, you dumbbell?
Greg's so popular wherever he goes.
I get in trouble.
Well, that's a good thing, I think. All right, guys. But anything else? Follow Greg on Instagram. He talked about that poster that he was sharing. Go to gagne.greg on Instagram. You can follow him there. Puts up some great historic pictures, some cool stuff of Vern, cool stuff of AWA days. You can follow Magnum on Instagram at Magnum_TA. But you can also follow him on Twitter at The Real Magnum TA. You can follow me on X too as well at Dominic D'Angelo. And check out my Instagram too. So that's it. But But guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate the support and everything like that. If you guys want to get the word out, go to powertownwrestling.com, get those figures in at the last minute. But be sure to support the show and give us some feedback. We like to hear what you guys want to hear more on here. And we're going to get to Andre. We'll get to Andre at some point. Just you wait and see.
Andre, next week.
Next week it's going to happen. Trust me. Trust me, okay?
I've got stories that high now. I've been,
as tall as Andre at this point.
Every week I thought I had one. So now I've been writing them all down. I forgot where I put them.
You're going to have like a huge scroll you're going to unroll on.
I forgot where I put them now. So
that's
you better have some good ones. Because if this is a popcorn fart after all this build up, I'm going to personally come over.
Yeah, you're going to really disappoint everybody. It's going to be like, what the hell? He had no stories.
I forgot them all. I told you. I'm getting old. Shoot, ask Laura. I forgot what I went out the door for today and I had to come back in. I said, what was I doing again?
I do that all the time, though, too.
Oh, God. You know what I have to do right after this?
Uh-oh.
This is horrible. I have to go pick up our little dog's ashes.
Oh. Yeah, that's tough.
My daughter, I've been taking care of this little Chewini for a number of years. And my pal, we had to put her down a week ago last Friday.
Oh, man.
That was tough.
That's always tough.
And it doesn't matter. Just want to send everybody out on a high note.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Really appreciate all that. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. But yeah, it's always tough to deal with that. No matter what age the dog passes, it's
oh God, it hurts.
It hurts. But guys, you guys don't hurt. You make us happy. So we'll see you next time here on Straight Talk with the Bass. Magnum TA, Greg Gagne.